We can.
Okay.
Now it's recording. The recording light just went on.
Okay. So now, look.
Okay, and
Will you?
everybody can hear you.
Yeah, everybody can hear me. Let's.
Baruch Hashem, I'll get there.
Okay, so let's just start. We started again. I said that with this is the last. First of all, welcome everybody. It's a very special day. Where Sunday night and Monday is the. I apologize for those who heard me say this already. It's the eve of Rosh Chodesh Kislev. So first of all, the idea of Rosh Chodesh is very important. The head of the month, like the head controls the body, the head of the month controls the month. How we behave on Monday night and Tuesday is going to affect in a tangible way the entire coming month. And so what do we have to do? We have to make sure that everything we do, we're mindful of the month, we're mindful of ourselves, we're mindful of our davening, of our learning, of all of our thoughts, our relationships with the people, to do it in a proactive way, in a specific way, not to just to roll through the day. We should be thinking about it. Sometimes that takes planning in advance. A lot of times it takes planning in advance. Think about how you're going to spend Sunday night, Monday night, and Tuesday. But there's another thing that I was saying that's very special about Sunday night and Monday. Sunday night and Monday has two aspects. They're going in. One is it's the last day of the month of Cheshvan. Cheshvan is Mar Cheshvan. Mar Cheshvan. We spoke about it last month. Mar means drops of water. It's the beginning of rain in Eretz Yisrael. That's number one. But it's also the whole month of Cheshvan where there are traditionally no holidays. No holidays. No holidays from the Torah, no holidays, not even any holidays from the rabbis. And why is that? Because it's the month that we're supposed to be integrating, making a vessel for all the blessings that we drew down for the month of, one second, admit. It's the month that we're supposed to be drawing down, we're making a vessel to draw down all the blessings from the month of Tishrei, the high holidays. Okay, and so that means thinking about what it is we tangibly want to bring with us into the rest of the year and making a vessel for that, doing something to be worthy from Hashem's eyes, to be worthy for our own eyes, okay, to say we made that effort to bring in the blessings from going all the way back 2 months. This is the last day to make a vessel for those things. And then it's also the preparation day for the coming month. Both those things together, okay? We're thinking about the last month or 2 months that passed. We're preparing for the month that's coming, the month of Kislev, the month of Hanukkah, the month of Nerot Laha'ir, candles, lights that shine out to others. Okay, the idea of affecting other people in a positive way. That's this whole coming month, and really tomorrow is very pivotal to coming to our full potential. Okay, Reba Rivka is with us. Is there some way to help everybody see the text?
It says I can't share the screen. Somebody else is sharing a screen.
No, so I'll turn off my screen share.
Ah, right. Thank you.
I don't know how to do that. But it's
at the bottom where it says share screen, I presume there must be a way of not stop. It should say stop sharing.
Okay.
Ooh, there we go. Thank you.
Okay, but now where's the text?
It's coming.
Okay, okay, so that you know that we're going to be learning 3 different shtickles from Keter Shem Tov. Oh, we're going to say here, you know what? Look at all the wonderful people that are here. We have Baruch Hashem, over 1 million of people. God bless each and every one of you. There's a lot of new people. Some old people are not with us. I'm going to make a suggestion. If the class is interesting and exciting, first of all, if it's not interesting and exciting, tell me how I can improve it. I want to hear. Okay, it's not for you. It's for me also. That's number one. Number two, if it is interesting, then let's try to get the word out. You know, if you can want to share it with your friends, if we can send out. I've been sending out the link on Sunday morning, but I can send out the link on Friday morning. You can have the link a day in advance, 2 days in advance, and perhaps to share it with some friends and see if they want to be involved. And if they want to be involved, they just have to send us a phone number or email, and we'll send them the link themselves. You only have to do it once. If they want to be involved, they just have to tell us, and we'll include them. Okay. Rivka is trying to put in the text. I'm gonna, the first shtickle is very short. It's not complicated. I mean, it is complicated, but it's short. So I'm going to start going, and by the time we get to the second piece, which is a little bit more, there's more text, I'm sure my faithful assistant will have figured out how to give us back the text. Okay. It says that that Yehoshua lo yamosh mi'oil shel Moshe. Okay, it's a famous Hasidic story. It says that the first Rebbe of Chabad, Alter Rebbe, was considered to be a great disciple, the greatest disciple of the Mezrich, Dovber of Mezrich. Okay, and we know that it says from a great disciple, the great disciple of Moshe, Lo Yomosh Mi'oil, he didn't ever leave Moses' tent. He was with Moses all the time. Okay, so how could the Alter Rebbe, who was only relatively a small amount of time with his Rebbe, with Rabbi Dovber of Mezrich, how could he be called a great disciple? And the answer is that even though he was physically not with him, spiritually he was always with him. He always, the Alter Rebbe always kept the Magid in the forefront. Okay, and so I can say that about all of my helpers at Ascent. They're all, it's like Yeshua. They're all like Joshua. Even if we're in Corona, we're learning in faraway places, working in faraway places. Nevertheless, we keep each other in mind. Okay, and so should be for all of us. That's the power of a family, even if the family's not together. Lo yomosh mi'oil, that if we keep the family members in mind, that means we're close. Okay, so it says we're on page 1. We're in Keter Shem Tov. Mrs. Dominic, so you're going to figuring it out? I hope so. Okay, so it says Mea Baal Shem Tov. It says the mipasuk va'avo hayom el ha'ayin yatsa shem shel kfisas haderech. What is it talking about? The words say from the Baal Shem Tov that he teaches. It's a verse that we read yesterday in the Torah. It says va'avo hayom el ha'ayin. It says Eliezer, Eved Avram, the servant of Abraham, went to look for a shidduch, for a marriage partner, a match for his master's son Yitzchak. Okay, and the tradition is, Rashi brings it. It's a Gemara in Sanhedrin that it says the Gemara says in Sanhedrin there are 3 people that God they shortened the journey for them. Okay, and the 3 people were Abishai ben Seruya. He was one of King David's generals, chiefs of staff. That during the battles for King David, he was able to travel quickly from one place to another. The other was Yaakov Avinu. That Yaakov Avinu passed over Har Moriah, and God brought him back there, but very quickly. He shortened for him the way, and the third person was the Eved Avram Eliezer, that God made him go from Beersheba to Haran, which is a journey that should have taken weeks. He made him happy to get there in one day. Okay, and so the question is, how does the Talmud know that? Okay, so before we go there, what was the importance? What was the big deal? We know that the Torah doesn't make miracles if it doesn't have to. Why did Eliezer? Okay, so about Yaakov Avinu, he had to pray the evening prayer. God wanted to bring him to Har Moriah exactly at dusk. We learn to pray the morning prayers from Abraham. We learn to pray the afternoon prayers from Yitzchak. It's also in last week's Torah portion. Okay, and we learn to pray the evening prayers from Yaakov. Yaakov got to Har Moriah exactly at the dusk. Okay, and he prayed in the evening. Okay, but why Eliezer? Why did God had to make a miracle for him if we know that God doesn't make miracles that are not necessary? And the answer is unbelievably beautiful. It's an answer from Chassidut, from the Alter Rebbe, okay, the first Rebbe of Chabad. He says the reason why Eliezer went to Haran was to find Rivka, the daughter of Besuel, the granddaughter of Nahor, which was the brother of Abraham, and he actually had to get there on that day because that was the day that she turned 3, right? And he couldn't. And he says the Zohar says that she was a rose surrounded by thorns. And just like a rose with all of its petals is literally a vessel for rainwater. And that rainwater nourishes the thorns around her, around the rose. So also Rivka was like a rose. Her holiness nourished her evil father and brother, and gave them a certain sanctity. Okay, but when she came of age, when she became, instead of a little child, she became a young, very young woman on a certain level. Okay, it was time for her to marry already. It was time. She already had a certain vulnerability, and she had to be taken away. So the need for Eliezer to get to Haran, it happened on that day, and God made a miracle that he should come there on that day to take her away, that she wouldn't, chas v'shalom, be impacted in a negative way by that environment. So that's why God made that miracle, okay? Sometimes, sometimes we can work very hard on something and it doesn't happen. It doesn't happen, okay? And something has to give, right? Something has to open up. A certain vessel has to open up, and then everything becomes possible. And that was the situation in this case, okay? So God made pieces of there. Now, so the question here is, how does the Talmud know? Wait, first of all, Rivka, what's with the?
Sorry, it's me, Rabbi Leiter. My mum's trying to get in, and she hasn't been accepted.
I'm sorry.
That's why okay, thank
Not
you.
asking. 1 second. Oh. Okay.
Can anybody see the screen share?
No, and also, it's not telling me to admit anybody either.
Yeah, it on the screen is a few Word documents and PDF. That's all it says. A few PDFs. It's a whole bunch of stuff that's on the screen.
You can't see. Okay, thank you. Thank you.
It might be only one person that can let you in. Maybe it's the Rebbitzin that can do it. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know how it works.
Rivka, it's not asking me to let people in anymore.
Is it
It's not
asking
me
you?
either?
I got it.
Yay.
Person waiting.
Can you see it? Is it screen sharing now?
Yes.
Yes, now it is.
Yay.
Just in time for
Thank you.
Wendy.
What a
Yeah,
day.
for my mum, yeah.
Okay. Anyway, Wendy, you'll have to hear the beginning of the tape. I can't go back again.
Don't worry.
Thank you, everyone.
All right, let's see. Let's close this? Fine. Okay, we have people and we have text. Baruch Hashem. Let's go. Okay. So looking at inside, it says that, okay, it says, what does the pasuk say? From Baal Shem Tov, pasuk va'avo achayom elo'ayin yatsa shem shel kfitzas ha'aretz. So the question is, what's the question? How did Rashi, or really, how did the Talmud know that? How did the Talmud know, okay, that Eliezer had kfitzas haderech, okay, and the answer is that the Baal Shem Tov is revealing an amazing secret here. He says that it's actually from the words itself, the avoy hayayim el ha'ayin, those 4 words, the first letter of each word, vav and hey and aleph and hey, right? That's the same letters as there's a pasuk, okay? The pasuk is in Tilim, and the pasuk is, let me say, 1 second. Maybe it's here. 1 second. No, the pasuk is El Hashemayim ve'el haaretz. That a person, there are certain Kabbalists. This is something that's known from Sefer Yetzirah. It's known Pashut for thousands of years. That a person would say that word. He could say that word with the right intentions. El Hashemayim ve'el haaretz, to the heavens and to the earth. And what would that do? That would give them the ability to travel incredible distances in a short amount of time. So what's the Baal Shem Tov teaching us? How did the Talmud know that that Eliezer had kfitzas haderech and he says why? Because in the pasuk itself, read the words now. Look inside. It says mia pasuk, from the pasuk, the ava hayom el arts vav is the first letter of Avo. Hey is the first letter of Hayim. Aleph, the first letter of El. Hey is the first letter. Those are the same letters as the first words of the pasuk. Ve'el hashamayim ve'el ha'arts. Okay, he says Avo Hayom El Ha'ayin Yotza Shem Shel Kfisa Derech. Right, that when Rashi says we learn from this, Rashi's words are we learn from here that he had Kfisa Derech. Why? Because in the words themselves is the hint to the yichud, to the union that a person, the words that a person have to say to create that, and to think about certain names of Hashem that would give him be able to control the physical reality and to shorten the distance. Okay, so the Rashi continues there. First of all, I'm telling everybody again, everybody here should be doing chitas every day, Chumash and Rashi, and we said it last week that I actually saw a video from the Rebbe where the Rebbe says that Chumash and Rashi or Tanya or Tillim can all be done in English as well as in Hebrew. You have the same schus, the same incredible spiritual merit, the same ability to rise above all of the physical problems when a person does it in English just like they do it in Hebrew. Okay, and so this is not a Chumash. Where's a Chumash? What does Rashi say? Rashi says first that we learn from this verse that he had Kfisa Derech. So the Baal Shem Tov was saying we learn from this verse. We learn from the verse itself because the verse itself has the same letters as the verse from Tillim, the Ela Shamayim ve'Ela Arts. That is what's the verse that empowers a person to have Kfisa Derech. That's the first thing. And the second thing that Rashi says is that we also learn from here. Let me see if I can find it. It says Yafa Sichon Shel Avdei Avos Mitoras Shel Banim. It's all in the Rashi there. We learn from this that it's greater the talks of the servants of the forefathers from their children. Okay, what is that talking about? So the simple pshat is that we see that the Torah repeats this whole thing from Eliezer twice. First, it talks about every detail in terms of Eliezer's prayer to God, and then he repeats it again for Besuel, Lavan, and for Rivka. Okay, so the whole Torah repeats this very long and involved story about the miracle that he came to the place and Rivka came out and he prays to Hashem that whoever's going to give my camels to me to drink and my camels to drink, that's going to be the one from the right family. It's going to be my master's son's bride. He says the whole story twice. Why does the Torah repeat the whole thing twice? So what does Rashi say? He says we see here the Torah it prefers Yafeh, it likes better the words of the servant of the forefathers more than the children, because we don't see that that God repeats anything that Yitzchak or Yaakov said. In fact, there are some teachings of the Torah that are only hinted at, and here it repeats this whole story twice. Okay, so the Baal Shem Tov says, he says no. He says you don't understand the Rashi. Now that we understand that the Rashi saying that mipo from here that we learn they had Kfisa Derech from these words themselves, which are the same acronym as the verse that a person would have to use to have the Kfisa Derech, the shortening of the way. He says, so now I understand that Yafeh, that it's nicer, the words of the servant of the forefathers, right? Because they actually were able to make miracles even more than the children of the Avos, who we don't have any record in the Torah that they were able to make miracles. So that's what Rashi's saying, that there's something very beautiful and unique here. And the Baal Shem Tov takes it one step farther, and he says, again, I'm going to read you the words again. The words are beautiful. It says, the words mean it's nicer are the words, the talks of the servants of the forefathers than from the Torah of the children. But you don't have to read it from the Torah of the children. You can read it that where did Eliezer get the ability to make miracles? From the Torah of the children, from the power of Abraham, from the power of Isaac, and power from Jacob. Even though he did a revealed miracle in a way that the other forefathers didn't do revealed miracles, nevertheless, where did that power come from? From the others. Okay, so that's the second lesson. The second lesson is of this class is that sometimes we have to realize that the things that we accomplish, where did the ability come from? It came from the people around us. It came from the people that love us. It came from the people that are praying for us. It came from them. We're going to speak about it much more later, right? That a lot of times a person could think that they accomplish something on their own power, and where does it come from? It comes from something outside of us, right? We have to, it says, it's so interesting that the entire, not entire, 9/10 of the Torah, not 7/10 of the Torah portion of Chayesara is about Eliezer, and yet his name is not mentioned one time, not once. Abraham's name is mentioned like 20 times, right? And Lavan and Basul's names are mentioned like 5 times, okay? And Rivka's name is mentioned like 6 times. I have to look at, I forget this, everyone is counted, but Eliezer's name is not mentioned one time because he knew that his energy came from his master Abraham. Okay, that's 32. That's 32A. Now we're going to go to, look on the screen, 32B. Okay, so we're continuing. Wait 1 second. I just remembered that I had a Geschmack story. Right. So, right. There's a story. It says Alter Rebbe says again about the Maggid. We talked about him being a disciple of the Maggid, but there's also another story that the Alter Rebbe says that in the times when he told his Chassidim that in the time of the Maggid there were so many miracles under the table, but we didn't have time to pick them up. We were so involved in doing our mission and serving Hashem that we didn't have time to play around with miracles. In other words, the miracles weren't even important. Our mission was important, and and we just let all of the giluyim, the revelations, go because we were too invested in fulfilling our mission, and they were successful. Okay, so that's another aspect of the teaching here. That who makes the miracles? The Avdei Avos, the servant of the master. Okay, but the master himself, Abraham, and his son Isaac, they don't need the miracles. Their whole energy is into serving Hashem. The same way with us, sometimes the most important thing is to get the job done, and not to worry about the revelations, not to worry about the small stuff. Okay, don't sweat the small stuff. Okay, let's go on. Lamed Beis. Here, the Gambir. So here it says the Gambir Mishnah. Okay, so now they're actually speaking about they're moving to another. The Baal Shem Tov is explaining another Torah idea in a completely different way. Okay, and he's bringing a Mishnah. The Mishnah says, it says V'gam Be'er Mishnah. What's the Mishnah? It says Ro'ua Medaberes Mechad Bashuk. Okay, so what's the Mishnah there? It's a Mishnah. It says in the footnotes, it's a Mishnah in the Talmud tractate Ksuvas, and it's a little bit racy. It says that there was a woman that was speaking to a man in the marketplace. In Medaberes, it says Medaberes, but Medaberes means that she was hidden with him. That's what the Talmud says. That's what Rashi there says, that she was hidden away with this person. Okay, and so afterwards they asked her, They asked the young woman, who was this person you were talking to, because they were afraid that he was perhaps a not Jewish person, or or another type of person that would have forbidden her to marry a Kohen. Okay, that if she had been closeted herself with an inappropriate person who wasn't Jewish, then she would be forbidden to marry a Kohen. Okay, then the Mishnah brings a few different opinions of people that said, no, we do believe her, we don't believe her, whatever. It goes on for a few lines. And the words are Ru'uha medaberes im echad b'shuk. They saw her speaking to someone in the shuk. So the Baal Shem Tov takes this fairly sad Mishnah in a certain sense, and he transforms it completely. He says they were midaberes, just like the way that the Mishnah says midaberes is talking about somebody that was a possibility of a physical, the intimate relationship with a stranger, midaberes im echad, with a person. He says no. Read it like this: Ru'uha, that there was a person midaberes that was that was intimate in a spiritual way, im echad b'shuk. That when a person, usually when they go to the market, a shuk is a market. When a person goes out into the street, okay, usually they are pulled in a million different directions. Eye candy, advertising. There's so many things that take a person away from their spiritual relationship with the world. Okay, Olivia is one of the group. She teaches walking meditation, where a person can be mindful of the spiritual truth, even when they're walking around outside, even when they're walking in the street. Okay, and this is one of the things that the Baal Shem Tov said was so important, that we have to train ourselves not to lose our spiritual core, no matter where we are, and that's what the words mean. That we got ra'uha medaberes from the sense of connecting intimately with what? Im echad, with the oneness, with God. That's what the Torah wants from us. That's almost the biggest challenge, is to not to lose our spiritual core, no matter where we are, to hold on to it. Okay, and he says he's going to connect it to another Talmudic statement. He says, "Ein doim shana shoyne pirkei mea pamim l'shona pirkei mea pamim ve'echad." So I think it's in Brachos, the Gemara. That's in Ksubis. 1 second. No, it's Chagiga. Okay. So what does it say? It say that a person who studies his Torah texts 100 times is nowhere even close to the person who studies it 101 times. Hello, did you ever read something 100 times and then read it 101st time? The 101st time is so different than the 100 times before that. Okay, so what does he say? First of all, so there's a million explanations about that. The Arizal says is that 100 is the two letters mem and samech, and mem and samech. Mem is 40 numerically in gematria, and samech is 60s, and that's the name of a certain angel that makes people forget, right? And when a person learns it 101 times, they bypass this angel that makes people forget it, and they can remember it. Okay, that's why this incredibly stronger, more powerful. The person who learns it 101 times, the person who learns it 101 times. The standard, what Rashi says there is that the custom in the times of the scholars of the Talmud was that everybody studied everything 100 times. That a person who studied something 101 times, they wanted to see he went out of his nature. He broke through. Everybody else did it 100 times, but I stood in the Beis Medrash and I learned it one more time. That person, by breaking his nature, opened up a channel that we spoke about last week, opening up a channel that brought in the energy of the studying in a way that was unattainable. Even if a person learned it 100 times, the 101st time, that opened up the channel. So the Baal Shem Tov was saying something different altogether. Look inside. It says Ein daim shona pirko mea pamim lashona pirko mea pamim ve'echad. The point there, it's incomparable. The person who learns it 100 times, the person who learns it 101 times, okay? Because what does he say? Perish im ha'echad. It doesn't matter. He says really the point is, it doesn't matter if you learn it once, if you learn it 4 times, right? If you learn it 100 times or 200 times. The point is when you learn it, to learn it with the echad, to remember that the Torah you're studying is God's Torah. It's God's will and wisdom. By the way, when you look, I just want to, I have a Talmud right here. This is where the Gemara was. I don't know if anybody can see, but Rashi, the center text is the Talmud. On the inside is Rashi. On the outside is Tosfos, is one of the both commentaries. On the very top of the page are 4 lines. 4 lines of Rashi and 4 lines of Tosfos on either side. Why 4? Right? 4 lines. And they say because the minimum that a person has to learn something is 4 times. That's one teaching. The other is when a person learns, they have to think about the 4 letters of God's name, Yud and Hey and Vav. So that's what the Baal Shem Tov is saying. It doesn't matter how many times you learn it, and it doesn't matter how whatever you're doing, it has to always be with the echad, with the sense you have to be mindful of Hashem. I was this is usually this Shabbos is Keter Shem Tov, is the convention of Chabad emissaries from around the world. Wait a second. Okay. I'm gonna keep. I have to do something while I'm talking. I'm gonna do something while I'm talking, but I'm gonna keep talking. Just go ahead. So, This is the emissary. It's the kenes of the of Keter Shem Tov, and so last night there was a Farbrengen that they did by Zoom. Okay, and the first shliach that went to South Africa 45 years ago is Rabbi Lipsker. I'll think of his last name hopefully in a minute. Okay, so he told a story. He said that they went into the Rebbe, and the Rebbe told them that they were accepted to be shluchim, the first shluchim in South Africa. Okay, and the Rebbe gave them certain instructions. 1 second. Okay. And then the Rebbe said that I'm going to give Mrs. Lipsker, just 1 second. Thank you for your patience. The Rebbe said, I have to enter 1 second, I have to admit them. So the Rebbe said, I'm going to give Mrs. Lipsker a Siddur, and I'm going to give Rabbi Lipsker a Tanya. So on the Rebbe's desk were a stack of small Tanyas. They make these small Tanyas with soft bindings. And the Rebbe put his hand on the Tanya, and he shook his head, and he said, he rang a buzzer, and Rabbi Klein was the secretary that was attending the Rebbe that night of Yechidus, of the private audiences with the Rebbe. And he said to Rabbi Klein to please go across the street to Merkas, to the bookstore, and to bring a bunch of Tanyas. And the Rebbe said, put it on my account, which Rabbi Lipka said he remembers to this day. The Rebbe said, put it on my account. The Rebbe was paying for it out of his own pocket. And so Rabbi Klein ran out. So how long does it take for Rabbi Klein to run from the Rebbe's room to Merkas and back? Maybe 2 minutes. It's like 100 meters altogether, back and forth. And the Rebbe secretary doesn't have to, whatever. He just picks up the Tanya and he walks out. So Rabbi Lipka said that as soon as the Rebbe gave Rabbi Klein the instructions, he turned away from Rabbi and Mrs. Lipsker, and he turned his head back to the stack of papers that he had on the table. He put on his reading glasses, he took a pencil, and he started reading letters just for those 2 minutes that they were waiting. That the Rebbe, and Rabbi Lipsker said afterwards that it was made such an impression on him because the Rebbe was so focused on his mission. There was 2 minutes to use, 2 minutes when he wasn't going to get involved in small talk with with his valued shluchim, he didn't want to waste even 2 minutes, and he continued to answer the letters that people had sent him. Okay, so that's this idea of just the Rebbe had his mission always forefront in his mind. He even was prepared to turn away from guests in his room to sit and to continue to reading the letters that he had of people with their important requests. Okay, that's this idea of echad, of keeping Hashem with us wherever we go, right? And that's what he says inside, perish im echad, with the one. And this is now we can understand. So I'm here. Again, look inside. It says Gambir Mishnah Ru'uha Midaberasim Echad. They saw her speaking with one. In other words, in the marketplace. In other words, they saw her holding on to women as well as men. They saw her holding on to the oneness of Hashem, even in the shuk, even in the marketplace, right? And this is connected to Ein Doime Shoine Pirkoi Meya Pam Leshona Pirko Meya Pamim Ve'echad, and this is compared to the expression from the Talmud that the learning 101 times is incomparably greater than learning 100 times. So the point is, it's not about 101 times. It's about that you're learning it 100 times with the one. You're mindful of Hashem in everything that you're doing. You know, no matter what happens, a person has to think about HaKadosh Baruch Hu and whatever they're doing. Perish im ha'echad, with the one, the one and only HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Ubezeh yuven, on the here we are, and the text on the 3 lines, the last 2 lines in the 3rd line. Ubezeh yuven ra'u medaberasim echad b'shuk. This is now we can understand that they saw her speaking. They saw her connecting intimately with echad in the marketplace. That we hold on to the consciousness of Hashem is with us even when we're outside in the world. Ki gam b'shuk, even in the market. She'aisek the esek olam hazeh. The market means the marketplace of life, whether it's in your kitchen or in your office or in the grocery store or driving your car. It means when a person is esek, is involved in olam hazeh, in the physical world. Mikol makaim diburo, right? His diburo, his connection, meaning his intimate relationship, is what? Im echad, with Hashem. Al yedei yechudin. Yechudin means that we see past the facade and we see the spiritual in the physical. Okay. Now, exactly that point is what the entire next section is about, and the entire next section is mind blowing. Okay, and what is? Here we go. We're in Lamed Gimel. It says, wait, just 1 second. I hope that, does anybody have any questions? Again, in Lamed Beis, we spoke about the idea of Kfitzas Haderech, okay? The shortening of the way for Eliezer. And the Chiddush, what was the innovative idea of the Baal Shem Tov, was he says that when Rashi says that we learn from here, he didn't just mean we learn from the words. We learn from the words themselves, that the words themselves are the same letters as the pasuk El Hashemayim Ve'el Ha'aretz, that a person would say to actually miraculously shorten the way for themselves when they're on a divine mission. So that we learned from that pasuk, okay, and that the point being that. Right, that even the words of the Torah, every single word of the Torah, if we knew how to read it, it's these unions with Hashem. Okay, now, so when we talked about the union, literally connecting intimately with Hashem through every word in the Torah, they move to another idea. The idea is how a person has to, even when he's traveling, even when he's outside, even when he's doing things that are distracting, he has to always be, right, im echad, with the one. Just be mindful always of the one. And we saw that 2 different examples. There's the Mishnah from Ksubas where it says they saw the woman speaking to the man, speaking with echad, with the one in the shuk. Don't read it as something not modest. Read it as something of the most modest. They saw her speaking with the one. She, even in the marketplace, she was intimately connected with the one, with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Okay, and he brings a proof from that from another line from the Talmud, that it was incomparable. The person who studies 101 times, the person who studies 100 times. It's not about 101. It's about he studies with the one. He's always with the one. The one is what's his spiritual core. He's with that. Okay, and that's what it means. Reuha, they saw her im echad, with the one, even in the marketplace. Okay, so that's the second thing. Now we're going to take it to even a higher level. Okay, you're with the one. You're there. Let's say you're trying. You see Hashem everywhere. What happens when, pow, 60 miles into a brick wall? What happens when something not good happens? How do you hold on to it? How do you hold on to that oneness? And so that's what he says now. Look inside. He says, Ubir is Shas, the Baal Shem Tov. It says, Meha Baal Shem Tov, we're Lamed Gimel. Meha Baal Shem Tov, Biur Shas. He's going to explain another line from the Talmud, or whoever's using the pointer, thank you. It says, La'olam Yehei Adam Ragil Lomar. A person should have to accustom themselves to always saying, Avdin, no, it's Kol Ma de Avdin Min Shemaya Latav Avdin. Okay, so now I have to explain. The Talmud speaks about two stories, right? There was Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Akiva, it says, that where's that Gemara is, 1 second. Brachas. Rabbi Akiva is in Brachas. Gemara Brachas. The first tractate of the Talmud. It says Rabbi Akiva was traveling. He wasn't a big scholar. He was a big scholar, but he wasn't very well known then. And as many people would do at those times, when he would be traveling from place to place, he would have a donkey that he would ride on. He would have a chicken that he would keep with him. Why a chicken? For eggs? A chicken to wake him up in the morning. When is it? At dawn, the chicken begins to crow, whatever the word is, to make noise, and he needed to get the chicken to wake him up in the morning. Okay, and he would also have a little fire, a spark, an ember. He would like have a stone with a hollow in it and some tinder and a spark in it, and he would carry the spark with him, and from that spark he could make fire. Okay, and so he got to a certain town, and he needed a place to sleep. He has his tinderbox, his chicken, and his donkey, and nobody would take them. They weren't bad people necessarily. Maybe they were bad people, but nobody would accept him into their house. No choice. He went into the woods and he made a camp for himself. But first came a big wind and blew out the fire. Then it's dark. Rabbi Akiva is there in the dark, and then here, all of a sudden, a fox comes and grabs his chicken, runs away. Now, no fire, no chicken, and then it's the middle of the night. Here's a growl, and a wolf came and ate his donkey. No donkey, right? No chicken, no fire. So this is terrible. So what does he say? That's what the line says. He says a person should accustom himself to say what Rabbi Akiva said. Everything happens from heaven is for the good, and that's what he said. Everything happens. It doesn't seem good, but I'm sure God knows what God's doing. And when he got up in the morning, he went into the town to get some water, to whatever, and he found out that the whole town had been massacred by bandits. Okay, they didn't accept him into the town. It was a blessing. Okay, he didn't see the blessings when it happened. He didn't see the blessings of the fire going out, of the chicken being taken by the fox, of the donkey being taken by the wolf. He didn't see it, but it turned out that even though they seemed bad at the time, it turned out well, that his life was saved. That's what it says. Okay, He says we're on the second line. I hope that. Hello, is everybody there? Was that clear? That story? Can somebody say something?
Yes, it was very clear. Thank you.
You very much.
Got it.
What would I do without you, Olivia? Okay, so we're the second line down. Kihahu Meiser, the Rebbe Akiva, like the story of Rebbe Akiva, right? And now there's another story in the Talmud, the story of Nachum Ish Gamzu. I'm sure Olivia is here every summer. Giti, I don't see her here. People who visit Tzfas, it's hard to be. It's one of the most, Rebbe Akiva is buried in Tiberias, a half an hour drive from Tzfat. But one of the most famous graves in Tzfat is the grave of Nachum Ish Gamzu. Nachum Ish Gamzu was a person who he had no arms and no legs, and his body was filled with sores. All right, and they asked him once, "How did you get this way?" And he said, "Because I was once riding on my donkey to go to my father-in-law to bring him some good food. Right, I had my donkeys filled with food, and a poor man asked me if to eat something, and I said no problem. And he jumps off of his donkey and he starts opening up the saddlebags to get some food. And in that time, the person died. So Rabbi Nachum turned his head to heaven, and he said, "These feet that didn't jump fast enough, these hands that didn't move fast enough, right, and these eyes that didn't see, right." Let the arms and legs shrivel up and let my eyes be blind. And that's what happened. And so what's the story? The story was that the synagogue where Rabbi Nachum was the rabbi of started to burn. And so they since he had no arms or legs, he couldn't move. He used to sit on a bed, and where the arms of the bed were sat in vessels of water, so ants couldn't get on it. And so when they came to take him out of the burning building, he said, "Don't take me out first. Take out all the holy books, all the scrolls." They took out the scrolls first, and as soon as they took out the scrolls, they took him out. And when they took him out, the building fell. So they asked him, "How do you have such confidence in Hashem?" And he said, "From that experience, that when I saw that I didn't serve Hashem properly, I begged him to do this thing, and Hashem did it for me. From then on, Hashem and I were like that." Okay? Okay, so the story continues. This is who Nachum Ish Gamzu was. He's buried here in Tzfas again. He's one of the heroes of Tzfas. And so once the Caesar in Rome made the Hegman, the mayor, the local king, made a big tax on the Jewish people. Okay, so the Jewish people got together, says, "We can't possibly live with this tax. Let's go beg Caesar to take the tax off of us. And when you go to see Caesar, you have to bring him presents." So they collected a lot of money, not as much money as the tax, but they collected a lot of beautiful jewelry and gold and silver. They put it in a chest, and they sent Rabbi Nachum with a delegation to go to Rome. Okay, so they get partway there, and they get to a this is all described in detail in the Talmud. They get to an inn, and the innkeeper says, "Hi, where are you going?" And says, "Oh, we're taking this box of jewels, and we're going to ask Caesar to take the tax off of the Jewish people." Okay, when they're all sleeping, the hotel owner empties out the box of all the jewels and puts in dirt. The next morning, they're leaving, right, and they see that the box is filled with earth. So instead of panicking, what does Rabbi Nachum say? And this is the famous thing. He's called Nachum Ish Gamzu. He says, "Gam Zula Tova." This is also for the good. This is for the good. This, that we had jewels and now we have dirt, this is for the good. Okay? And he didn't let it stop him at all. They went to Rome. This is exactly word for word from the Talmud. The Caesar says that there's a delegation of Jews coming from the Holy Land. So first he says, "What did they bring me?" So they bring in the box, they open up the box, and they see what's there, dirt. So Caesar gets mad. What, do they think I'm stupid? Dirt, right? And put them in jail. And so they put them all in jail, and the whole time, what is Rabbi Nachum saying? Everybody say it with me. Gam zu l'tova. this is also for the good. Okay, he's sitting there in the dungeon and he's saying, this is also no hands, no legs. What are this is also for the good. He so believed that this is also for the good. The Talmud says Elijah the prophet came down in the guise of one of the ministers of Caesar, and he says, you think these Jews are stupid? They're not stupid. You didn't even ask them. This must be the same dirt that 2 weeks ago in the Parsha that Avram, it says the 5 kings would shoot arrows at Abraham, and before it hit Abraham, it would turn into earth, and then Abraham and his soldiers would throw the earth back at the enemies, and they would turn into arrows and kill everybody. Okay, it must be the same earth of Abraham, because they're Jews and that's their forefather. So Caesar said, okay, we'll try it. He was in the middle of a war. They took the earth. They went to the battlefield. The soldiers lined up. The enemy attacked. The Caesar's Roman soldiers threw the earth at the attacking enemies. The enemy was routed. The Romans won the war. Right? They came back. This happened in a very short time, obviously, somehow. They also had maybe this quickening of the way, and they took out Rabbi Nachum from prison, and they rewarded him and said, "We're going to take off the tax, no problem." And they gave him more riches than he came with, and they went back there. They went back to Yisrael, and there's a postscript in the story, this Hollywood ending. It says the innkeeper couldn't believe that they were there. And what happened? And they told him the miracle. The dirt was miraculous dirt, blah, blah, blah. So what does the innkeeper do? He fills up 20 vessels, a whole wagon load of vessels with dirt, and he runs to Rome, and he knocks on the door of the palace. He says, this is the real dirt. I have the real dirt. And Caesar said, okay, we'll try it. And the Roman soldiers were massacred, and the innkeeper lost his life. Okay, that's the story. So the question is, Rabbi Nachum was the teacher of Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Nachum said, Gam Zula Tova, and Rabbi Akiva said, all the heavens does is for the good. Okay, there's a subtlety there. By Rabbi Akiva, there was a place for evil, but it turned out well. By Rabbi Nachum, what appeared to be bad itself was good. The dirt was magical dirt. Okay, we're going to talk about the dichotomy. I know it's a little bit late, but we're going to finish. Talk about the dichotomy. So we're on the third line. 1 second. We're on the third line in the middle. It says Ubeshas. It says in Shas means Shisha Sidra, in the 6 orders of the Mishnah, which is the foundation of the Gemara of the Talmud. It says in the tractate Tainus, right? It says the Nachum Amar that Nachum would always say Gam Zula Tova. This is also for the good. This is Gam Zula Tova. This is also for the good. And it was by him there was no even no aspect of bad at all. So it continues. Yesh lahavin shinui lashon. We have to understand the difference between these two different expressions. Bein zeh lezeh, between this, Rabbi Akiva said that all that heaven does is for the good, right? Called the Ma'abed Shemai Latov Avid, and what Rabbi Nachum said, this is also for the good. Okay, ukasavti bir, and I wrote my explanation. Limtok dinim b'shorsham. We spoke about this before. There's a possibility. Everybody has the ability to sweeten the severities in their source. Okay, we spoke about it last week, and we spoke about this 2 different ways. You know, something bad happens, something unpleasant happens. Okay, something challenging happens. Okay, and when you can say to yourself, God is in charge. He knows what he's doing. It's very difficult for us, but I'm sure it's going to turn out well. That's what Rabbi Akiva said. Okay, but there's another level. There's a level where you're actually able to sweeten the severities themselves. Again, what does it mean to sweeten the severities? There's one level where you actually connect the negative thing to its source. You say, this is from God. It has to be good. That was what Rabbi Akiva did. And eventually it will turn out okay. when Mashiach comes, before Mashiach comes. Eventually, we'll see the Hashgacha Pratis. Okay, that was Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Nachum. One second. Rabbi Nachum, he said, no. He said, even the thing itself now is good. In other words, he found a positive thing in the negative thing itself. Okay, when he found the dirt, he said, this dirt is good. This is good. And when he said this negative thing that appears to me to be negative is good, he transformed the entire thing into something positive. In other words, it all has to do with the recipient. If I see it as good, I transform it into good. Let's continue. He says, well, again, it's this. So the idea is to sweeten the judgments in their source. Again, we said there's two different ways. One is to connect the judgment in this world to the source, to God and his infinite kindness, to see it, that I know it's going to be good, even if I don't see it now. The other way is to actually sweeten the judgment itself. When you say, okay, you know what, I'm going to tell you, anybody has to go, don't feel bad, but I'm going to tell you a story. This is a true story. We made a Farbrengen yesterday. It was Shabbos Mevorchim, Shabbos before the new month, and I sat with a dozen friends outside, and we sponsored the Kiddush because we had a new granddaughter. Mazel Tov, thank you very much. And so somebody told a story. They said that there was a wedding. There's been a lot of news here in Israel when people make weddings. Neighbors sometimes call and give them away. In other words, there are 20 people allowed in an inside event and 30 people allowed in an outside event. If you have a big space, you can have 30 people and 30 people, but even 60 people if a person has 10 brothers and sisters and each of them have 10 children, okay, then 60 people for a wedding is not very much when there's 200 or 300 people in the immediate family. Okay, we all understand, but it's also tragic that neighbors sometimes have to tell the police. Okay, it's all problematic. So there was a wedding. There was a wedding in a certain place, and somebody told on them, and the police came, and the bride and groom were so shocked that they argued with the police, and because they argued with the police actually took the bride and the groom to the police station and kept them there for a few hours and questioned them and fined them, and the bride. It's a true story. The bride became really traumatized. What an inauspicious way to start married life. And she couldn't shake it. She got depressed. Meanwhile, a few days later, the wedding was just before Rosh Hashanah. Okay. And just after Rosh Hashanah, a young yeshiva boy, not young, a young man, a yeshiva student, but he's in 20s, calls up the father, and he admits that I was the one who called the police, and I feel very, very bad about it. And I want you to forgive me and to ask your daughter to forgive me. And the man was, I'm not going to forgive you. Are you kidding? You ruined my kid's life, and the college is still traumatized, and the police took her away, and you can't believe what you did. I'm not going to forgive you. And the person is begging him, and he's saying that, you know what, I want to tell you the truth, that in the last week, I had a few very good suggestions for shidduchim for myself, and the shidduchim were they dissolved, and I feel that it's all because I did this terrible thing. It turned out the news came out later was that the reason this all came up was because during the Shabbos meal, during the Rosh Hashanah meal of the family, the parents, the whole family was speaking about this tragic thing that somebody from their community went and told on this wedding, and how the people and the child, and it wasn't a child, this young man freaked out, and he ran away from the table, and the family found out what was going on, and that it had been him that did it, and from the side it turned out that some of the marriage shidduchim that he had set up, the possible marriage partners dissolved, and he really felt that from heaven there was now a decree against him, and so he begged the father. The father said, okay, I'll forgive you, but it's not going to help if I forgive you. I have to ask my daughter to forgive you. And so he begged to make a meeting with the daughter, and they made a meeting with the daughter, right? They went, and he's begging her, and she said, "I'm not going to forgive you. You ruined my life. You ruined my life." And and she get out of here, and he went away, but he came back 2 days later, and he's begging the whole family, big rabbis. He said, please to intercede for him, because he's felt his life is ending. Okay, his life is, he's completely, it's a brach, and he's all broken. And he asked the biggest rabbis in the community to go, and they talked to the girl, to the young woman, to the bride, and they begged her, and they pleaded with her. And she finally says, you know what? This was a long process, of, I think, of a week. Finally, she says, okay, I don't know if it's with a full heart or without a full heart, but I'll forgive him. Anyway, a few days later, they're in the car, the bride and the groom. It's after Shavuot Brachos. They're in the car, and they're driving to some place, and a car from the other lane swerves into them, and to avoid the car, they have to swerve to the right, and they hit a post. The side of the car hits a post, and it flips the car over, and the car turns over and over and over, like 4 times. It rolled over. People saw it. They called the ambulance. They called the police, and they came, because when a car flips over 3-4 times, you're talking about people that are certainly injured. The ambulances came, and they opened up the door, and the young man and woman walked out of the car without a scratch. Now, they had their seatbelts, but believe me, without a scratch, right? And everybody's talking to them. He says, this is a miracle, literally a miracle. It's not possible for the car to be in that condition. It flipped over 3 times, and for you to walk out of the car without a scratch. And they look at each other, and they say, it's because I forgave that young man. Okay. And then they realized that the whole reason, sometimes you have this thought, and sometimes thoughts are silly. Sometimes, like, dreams are silly, but sometimes thoughts are right. They said, wow. Somehow they understood that the whole thing that happened at the wedding was from heaven, to create that situation where they should forgive this young man, and that forgiveness saved their lives in the car accident. Okay. That's that story. It's a true story. It happened in Eretz Yisrael. If you want places, dates, and names, ask me, and I'll give it to you. Okay, so let's back inside. Okay, so look how late it is. Oh, it's a chutzpah of me. I'm sorry. Anyway, we're the 4th line down. How do you sweeten the severities? Right, we're 1, 2, 3, 4th line down. The mateketa hadina b'shorshan, to sweeten the judgments in their source. Think about that story I just told you. That's sweetening the judgment in its source. Okay, like Reb Nachum Ish Gamzu, he saw the good in, apparently he found something good in it. If those kids when she forgave that person, she sweetened the severity in its source. Okay, we're 5th line down. How do you sweeten the severity in its source? You find in the source of the law, of the judgment, chesed, some kindness, chesed. You should find a kindness, some positive thing in this tragic negative thing. And that, finding the positive thing in that negative thing, okay, that turns the whole naseh. We're 6 lines down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 lines down. The first word, naseh hakol chesed. Look at the words. Read my lips. It transforms the whole thing into goodness. Right now my family's going through a little bit of a problem. It's very much divine providence, so we're learning this now. You have to see the positive thing in even the most negative things, and that turns the whole thing into kindness. Ulakach, and that's what Nachum was saying. Nachum Ish Gamzu, even in this Motzah Chesed, even in the thing that they were stolen, they were left b'li onim, without any gift for Caesar, even in the most ridiculous situation, Motzah Chesed, he found the kindness, b'shor shadin, in root of the judgment. The whole thing was turned into kindness. But now, so it takes a special person. Is everybody with me? It takes a special person to be able to find that good thing in the tragedies, in the difficulties. You have to dig out something positive in it. Okay, and he says, but it's not. It takes a special quality. Not everybody can do it. Not everybody can do it. Okay, and so he says again, 2 lines from the bottom, 4 words from the beginning of the line. The person that can't do it, a stam b'nei adam. It doesn't, not being negative. It's like there's no stam b'nei adam. There's no person that's stam. But sometimes a person can't do it. They can't find they can't reveal the goodness in the negative thing. So okay, and so she'ena yedei shor chesed. He can't see the root of goodness in this negative thing. But then what do? What do? You want to see the kindness. 1 second. Okay, my pleasure. Okay, what do you do if you can't find that root of kindness, but in the negative thing? So then at least to say, call the avdim the shemayim l'tav avdim. Everything that heaven does is for the good. Even if I can't see the goodness, it's still good, right? And minastam, because I can't see the root. And that, at least, like Rabbi Akiva, it'll eventually turn out in a positive way. Okay? Be'ezrat Hashem Yisbar. Okay. Thank you very much. Okay, so we learned, let's just quickly, wow. Thank you very much for the privilege. I want to tell you something. It used to take me an entire day to prepare the class, and then it took me a half a day, and now I can prepare the class in a couple of hours. So it's much better. My whole life doesn't stop. But it's really a big privilege. I want to thank everybody for giving me this privilege to share these things today. So we learned 3 different things. First thing about the kfisas derech, and this idea of the every line in the Torah is yechudim, is ways to connect the spiritual and the physical. The second thing we said, how do you do that? You do that by focusing on the echad. Whatever is happening, the echad, mindful of God. Be Hashem, like we talked about the story about the Rebbe, that the Rebbe, even he's standing, 2 people are standing in front of him. He turned back to his mission. He didn't want to leave even a few minutes mindless of what he had to accomplish. And then the third thing that we learned just now, Lamed Gimel, was about taking it even to tragic situations. And the 2 different secrets. The first, if it's possible, if you can see the thread of goodness, even the most tragic situation, that can turn the whole thing to something positive. And I'm going to practice it myself. And if sometimes it's so ridiculous, it's not the right word. It's so difficult. It's so difficult, at least to say, and again, called the Avdin and Shemayim l'tav avdim. Everything that God does, everything that comes from heaven is for the good. Everything that comes from heaven is for the good. Meaning, if I can't see it right now, I will see it, and that at least some of it transforms it into something negative, into something positive. Okay. Thank you very, very much. Okay, I think it's very, very late. Wow. Okay. Thank you. Okay. Is anybody any questions? Anybody want to?
Thank you, Shaul. Beautiful.
Thank you. Hi, Olivia.
Hey, Simcha.
Wait,
It's just pounding to be with you.
To be with you too. Big privilege. Thank you. Thank you, Rabbi.
it was my
I
pleasure.
always
Really
feel
my
like
pleasure.
I'm back when I see Shaul's face, but I'd like you to jump up and down once in a while, okay?
He does that anyway.
You have to watch my weekly video. Anybody's not getting my video,
I watch your video also.
right?
I'm a devotee.
I said it. A very big. I want to give everybody a bracha. Oh, I have to turn off the recording maybe, but no, we're gonna after the bracha. We want to give everybody a bracha that You should, everybody, when they have to practice, when you're faced with a difficulty, you have to say, everything that comes from heaven is for the good. To practice saying that, okay? And that we should be zoicha. Not only that, we should be able to see the thread of goodness in even the most difficult situations, okay? And through that, we will merit to transform even the most negative things into something positive.
Amen.
Amen. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Okay.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Amen.
A good Chodesh to everybody, a good new month.
To you. And to
Chodesh
you.
from the word Chodesh means month, but it also means the renewal of the moon. So the word Chodesh is from the word Chadash, renewal. This Monday night and Tuesday should be a day of renewal for everybody, and know that your efforts on that day will bring fruits the whole month. Okay, I'm gonna turn off the recording. And second,
Okay. Bye. Thank you.
Amen.
So
Bye.
you should
God
have that
bless
blessing
everybody.
as well.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
No.